All right, ladies and gentlemen, something different on the Mike Pantile channel. Maybe first of many podcasts to come. Who knows what God wills. I'm with my brother in Christ, Nick Stumphauzer. You guys may know him from Mask fame. And today we're talking about virtue and how we can use technology to help further us in that quest for virtue. Nick, thanks for being on today, and I'm looking forward to the discussion. How do you want to begin? Because we also have a special announcement of a absolutely incredible, the best productivity software put on the market by this studly and very intelligent young man in Nick Stumphauzer that I think is going to have an incredible impact on the world at large. I'd like to say it's made by Catholics for the world. So why don't you give us a little introduction on what that is, Nick, and we can kind of get into that.
Your intro made me think about just the word productivity, which I think in and of itself is something interesting. Maybe we can talk about, like, especially as men trying to be productive and where the direction of our attention as men. Like, we can spin our wheels and feel like we're doing worthwhile things. You and I have had conversations in the past about, like, scaling and how scaling is kind of a silly thing to pursue in and of itself,
Satanic.
to just inflame the business and become like this tumorous. It's sort of like bodybuilding, where, like, bigger is not better. Like, you need to have
Right.
proportion and grace and shape, and or you could be Mike Isertel. um, but yeah, so Shift is the product that we have just launched. Return Inc., my software company. Me and my developer have been working on this for a really long time, and it's designed to do what many softwares and apps and services have failed to do, which is to protect you from yourself, protect the individual from the maw of the social media monsters that we are just in the belly of and can't seem to get out. It's a software. It lives on your computer, but it affects your phone. And in essence, it's a button. When you push the button, your phone becomes a phone instead of a vehicle for entertainment and distraction. And when you push the button, it goes back to normal. That's basically what it is.
And you can also schedule these time blocks. So
Yep.
when after the initial setup, which is the only time it has to be wired, it's wireless after that. You can schedule when your actual phone shifts as well. So you can, you know, instead of using what's built into your iPhone that you can just keep tapping 15 minutes later, 15 minutes later, 15 minutes later, it doesn't do anything. It actually just blocks your phone off, effectively giving you that one extra step that you have to take that many people won't take to actually unshift. And that's the key difference too. So like in the work that I do with the guys and overcoming lust, pornography, growing in virtue, is you've got to give yourself as many obstacles between you and the fall point as possible.
Yep.
And this is what I thought was particularly very effective about Shift and the beauty in its simplicity, where it's like a button. After the install, it's one button. You hit it, you close your computer, off you go, and you cannot turn it off from your phone. Because everybody knows that when that point of no return hits, whether it's, you're going down the rabbit hole of lust, or you just want to mindlessly scroll, or whatever, your hindbrain just takes over and you're just down the rabbit hole. You go to your phone and you're just blocked. Much like the conversation we had off air where, or maybe, yeah, anyways, we had some kind of a conversation about this. I'm blanking. I don't know if I'm getting early onset dementia, but when you're trying to diet or doing something productive with your body composition, not having the foods in your home that are there that are not conducive to your goal. And so when you're used to having this thing shut off or in time blocks or what have you, your routine adjusts relatively quickly. And it's a integral tool in the toolkit when it comes to productivity, right? It can't just be by itself, let's say, but in conjunction with all of your other, disciplines. So who is this specifically also like marketed toward? I loved it personally, and the use case for me is I spend way too much time on my phone, even outside of business. But particularly where I see it coming into handy for me is on Sundays when I feel tempted to look at my watch or look at my phone. I just shift and I go about my day, go to mass, and I just forget about my phone entirely.
Right.
And I know that that's going to have a trickle down effect during the week when I'm trying to protect my time as well. So if you were to kind of describe the avatar when you were going to put this together, because I mean, make no mistake, this took over 2 years and hundreds of thousands of dollars to put together. So like
Mhm.
this wasn't just like a task you did in your room for a weekend, right?
Yeah. Well, I worked with a very, very smart person to do the development on this, and it's been an absolute labor of love to get to this point. There has been a 15,000% increase in my generation, Gen Z, looking up dumb phones and wanting a
Mm-hmm.
dumb phone. I think my generation's been hit the hardest. Gen Alpha might be the next most, but I don't even think they realize that, like they're the fish in the dirty water. The kids younger than me, born after like 2005, 2007, they don't even know the matrix that they're living in. But my generation, we at least had like bicycles and kind of like saw the sun a couple of times.
Same.
And so we experience sort of this daily loss where you're like, oh my gosh, I just spent, like go into your phone and look at your screen time and it'll tell you, and you'll just be like, okay, multiply that over the course of a day, over the next couple of decades, because it's not like it's going down. It's not like there's going to be fewer opportunities for us to be looking at devices. And if we spend a third of our life sleeping, we're probably spending at least 10% of our life staring at a device, doing something that's not actually additive to your spiritual well being or the productivity in your job or something for your family. So it was for them. It was for those people who have become aware of this and they didn't want to buy a dumb phone because they still needed a GPS. They still wanted to take a photo. They still wanted to listen to music on their drive or something. But when they would download Opal or use that 3D printed thing called Brick, they could also just delete the app or request more time for themselves or turn off the setting or something. And so it was like, well, that's a waste of money because it's not actually protecting me from my weak moments. But they didn't want to completely obliterate their technological experience of the world because it's required now in modernity to have some kind of smartphone. So it was for that. And you brought up the scheduling thing as well. So right now we have focus sessions. By the time this gets out, maybe we'll have more features, but we have focus sessions. So 30, 60, 90 minutes. Like you click one of those buttons and your phone is in the shifted state. There's no distractions for that period of time. This isn't do not disturb. What this is like if you have an iPhone, Instagram vanishes. You don't get notifications for Instagram, and you don't have the app is gone. And after it's unshifted, it reappears. If you have an Android and you click Instagram, it kicks you out again, and there's nothing you can do to get around this. So we were just trying to be surgical and create the best version of solving the problem of what do we do with all of this nonsense input from social media and such. And we did, and it's now available for people.
Yeah, it's going to have a huge impact. So the question, I think, the conversation that we kind of dove into earlier on, but kind of circling back to that, does it necessarily signify? And I think this would be a good question for everybody that would watch and listen. A lack of virtue that one needs something like this, or does the environment that we're in does it necessitate such a step? And I know you've got a passionate perspective on this, so pour your heart out, Nick.
Yeah, well, the what I relayed to you was I think this is we're in an environment of drugs. Basically, we have an endless supply of dopaminergic substances,
Mhm.
and it's naive to try to approach that problem with strictly uh, habit habit based solutions. So if you were an alcoholic, and let's say you're a rich alcoholic and you have a driver, you have a guy who drives you everywhere, your personal driver, personal car. You could either just try to never ask the driver to take you to the liquor store, or your driver could say, I am never taking you to the liquor store again. And then what you do in the privacy of your own home is work on your desire for alcohol. And when you're presented in life with opportunities, you're at a party, you're at a friend's house, whatever it is, you can exercise virtue. But what if your car could just not ever go to the liquor store again? So that's what shift is. Your phone no longer becomes a vehicle for entertainment, for distraction, for mindless doom scrolling. What if you could make your phone into that sort of thing at the click of a button? Well, that's what we did. That doesn't make virtue obsolete. It just tries to protect you against needing saintly virtue when you're still a piece of crap sinner, basically.
Yeah, it's a question of the both and. You don't want to just do something like that in isolation without working on, the habits that are conducive to that end goal. It's all of it. And maybe, the conversation has shifted in the last like 5-10 years, such that where maybe having an app like this, comprised of a very small percentage in this fight to reclaim your time, et cetera, where now, I mean, I don't know what we could assign a percentage to in terms of its like efficacy and use case here, but it's definitely absolutely much higher now than before. And
Yeah.
you could almost say that it's because we use technology, we use these enhancements in so many different areas of our lives, right? Like we were having this question yesterday, like, does it signify a lack of virtue? Well, I used to think in my ignorance that it did, that you can just like white knuckle it and develop this discipline. But at the same time, I use creatine, I use pre-workout powders, I use like whey protein. I have like, by today's standards, like almost like a state of the art gym in my basement that has all these creature comforts that allow me to hoist weights in an easier fashion. How is this any different? And I think it just goes to say the relatively nascent stage we still are in with technology, where we haven't really, as much as we've incorporated it into our lives, I think it's been especially so in the last 3 to 5 years. So that's why I think me warming myself up to this idea, when you told me about shift, I was like, yeah, that's genius. That's perfect. Whereas before I thought that number maybe was like 5 or 10%. I freaking think that number when it comes to tools like this is as high as 30 or 40%.
To take the pull yourself up by the bootstraps approach to technology today, in where you can't function in a world without a smartphone. And that smartphone can afford you a lifetime of sin and time wasting. And then to meet that head on with just work harder, I think is absolutely naive. So to your point, it's a both and. Yeah, work as hard as you can, and then implement things such that you don't have to work, it's like to a prideful degree. Like you're not that saintly.
Mm.
You're not that virtuous. And it requires humility to accept what you really are and avoid the near occasions of sin. It's like, if you think it's pride to like walk into a strip club and be like, I have enough chastity. I can even look all around at these women pole dancing and not experience any lust. It's like, no, you just don't go in the strip club.
Yeah. Yeah. Why walk when you could drive to a destination? Or like, what are you just trying to be like the Mr. Virtue David Goggins and
Right.
thinking you can just like white knuckle your way through it? And then the shame just builds every time you relapse on pornography or you lose more and more and more and more and more of your time. It is a question of pride. Ultimately, that's where it came from for me. It's like, if you need to use these apps, you're weak. It's like, actually, you're smart. It's efficient use of your time. How many occasions of sin are you avoiding by using this to your favor or in your favor?
Yeah, who's more virtuous? The person who walks into the store, sees something that they really want, and never considers stealing it? Or the person who walks in the store, sees something they really want, wants to steal it, thinks about stealing it, and then employs virtue not to steal it? Well, this flawed perspective on work ethic or discipline would say, well, the person who wanted to, but then exerted effort not to. It's like, no, 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 no. It's the person who is uncorrupted enough to not even consider the sin.
Mm.
And what we need to be doing when we're just steeped in this hellhole that is modernity is putting in as many mechanisms as possible to keep our appetites trained on the true, the
Mhm.
good, and the beautiful.
1,000%. This is exactly what I work on with my guys. It's like, hey, let's master your eating, your fasting schedule, your sleep, your lifting, your prayer life. All of those things are going to make this final boss be that much easier. But then don't just attack it head on. Use this other stuff to you're deploying more soldiers on the battlefield essentially, instead of thinking that you're one man Thor and you can do it on your own, and you absolutely cannot. It's and I think ultimately, just like myself in the past with my, what how I've spoken about this, it's pride and the overinflation of our own abilities, right? Because you think about, we could say this probably about previous saints, but I want to sound respectful, more respectful than the pagan Stoic philosophers. But Marcus Aurelius or any of these people, you bring them to the modern age, most of them would be porn addicts of some kind,
Oh yeah.
or addicted to social media. So like they're no better than we were. It's just we're dealing with something that has no precedent. So why would you not deploy the big guns?
Yeah, like if
Why
okay,
would you not do that?
faith is a virtue, like it's a theological virtue, it's a gift, but you also have to cooperate with it. Prayer and discipline are virtues. All of these, religion itself is a virtue.
Mhm.
Okay, so if we're going to take the approach of pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and that the hardest working person is the most virtuous, then don't baptize your kids. Don't tell them about Jesus. Don't tell them anything about the faith. And they should just work for it, right? They should just fight. They should just fight to have a relationship with Christ. Don't tell
Just
them
work to
anything.
figure it out on their own. Yeah,
We don't do that
exactly.
though. We give them grace. We give them catechesis. We take them to mass. We pray with them. We raise them in the faith, and their appetites are aligned toward the highest good, the virtue of religion. And the same thing is true with all of this stuff. It's like, all right, if you can conceptualize that the best man in the modern age is one who is not addicted to pornography and not wasting time on entertainment through their technical devices, YouTube on their computer or their phone or social media, whatever it is, then isn't it just most important to become that man? And maybe you can do that. I mean, like you and I, without software, through God's grace and our cooperation with it, do not consume pornography and haven't done so for a very long time. So it's feasible without technology. But you get, man, I was in high school and there were kids that had been watching pornography since they were 8 years old.
Mhm.
So like just after the age of reason, and they stumbled across it on their home computer, and their physical brain and their neurological circuitry begins to adapt to porn addiction. And you're going to show up to them 5, 8, 11 years later and be like, hey, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Don't get a software. Just stop right now. Just stop. Do a consecration to St. Joseph. Like, well, should you not do it? No, obviously do a consecration to St. Joseph. But don't be so prideful or naive to think that prayer in the absence of available and useful tools is going to be sufficient to get you to a point of freedom from vice. And so one of the things that we're offering with Shift here soon is it's called rehab. and it's 30 days. There's no off switch. Actually, a mutual friend of ours from down under uh, accidentally put this on his phone, and we had to like hack to get it off because it was his phone was shifted and the timer started, and for 30 days what you have are your essential productivity apps, note taking, GPS, whatever, music. And what you don't have are social media or internet browsers or anything. So that's, I think, a really good way for people, men and women, to get started is do 30-day fast. And there's no objection. You can't actually object, because if there's something essential that you have to do on what we would describe as like an entertainment platform, you say, oh, well, I do social media for work. You can do it on your computer, first of all. And second of all, we keep everything that you actually need in your day-to-day life. Like, this is where the light phone fails. I don't know. Are you familiar with the light phone?
No, the first time I saw it was that reel that you superimposed the picture over.
Yeah. So there's a few dumb phones out there. One of them is the light phone. It was kind of the OG. They raised like $2 million in 2016. I think they were like the very first dumb phone. And it's so funny to see the user feedback, because they're like, I can't take or receive a picture. I need an Uber. Can I listen to an audiobook? And like, none of the people aren't wasting their lives on Uber. They're not wasting their lives like listening to an audiobook on Spotify or something. They're wasting thousands of hours a year on social media and such. And the iPhone and the modern Androids are the perfectly honed marble sculpture of like a technical sidekick to the human person. They just have a lot of baggage. And so we like surgically removed the baggage so that, and this is a point that I wanted to bring up too. I think there are moments that people wish they could have when it comes to making good decisions. Like, if, I think this is actually a good analogy. So like, you've dieted probably harder than the vast majority of people. Like, you've put yourself through pretty rigorous food restriction, through calculation, through weighing, through being hungry, putting the fork down, going to bed hungry, doing fasted cardio. Like, you are no stranger to that experience. Now imagine if, knowing what's involved in going through a cut, you could push a button and you would still have to go through that experience. You could just never back out. Like, what the button did was make sure you never had a cheat meal. That like your card would be declined at McDonald's. Your fridge would never have the cheat foods in it. And so what I'm trying to afford people the opportunity is, once you've made the right decision and you know it's the right decision, you're just it's failure proof. You don't get to go back.
It's a little kick in the ass. It's a little kick in the ass. It's so necessary. I love that cheat meal analogy, dude. So speaking of this perfect little tool that big little tool that you've put together, where can people find it, and how do they download it / purchase it?
So I hate subscriptions. I think everybody kind of hates subscriptions. So I'm taking us back to the era when, like, if you bought Microsoft Word, you owned Microsoft Word. So
Love it.
if you buy Shift, you own Shift and every update that comes with it for the rest of your life. If you get a new phone, it transfers to the new phone. Like, you own this software if you buy it. So they would go to the link. We'll just put the link in the description: shift.return.world, and it's a computer program. You download it on your computer. It puts it on your phone, and it's $99 for a lifetime license. But use the code Pantile, take 20% off.
Everybody has to have their phone shifted. I think this is certainly going to be a big piece of the productivity future. And there's also some other things that Return, Nick, the guys that put together Shift have also coming up down the pike that's going to be also incredibly efficacious in this digital battlefield that we're all in. We won't mention what that is right here. This podcast, I guess, or interview chat, if you will, was purely about Shift. So, guys, I've certainly seen the value. I know Nick and the work that he's put in with Shift. And I know 99% of you that are watching this have had some kind of issues with productivity with regards to your phone and how you manage your time. Go to Shift. We'll leave the link in the description. Use my code Pantile for 20% off. It's a lifetime license. I love that too. No subscription, no upsell, no BS. It's on your phone. It's on your computer, then on your phone, and you get your time back. So, dude, Nick, speaking of time, I appreciate the time you took to explain this to everybody. And I want to have this on as many computers. I'm sure you're more motivated than I am, considering you put in a couple of years worth of work. I'm excited to have this on as many computers as possible. That is my desire. That is my prayer. Providence will do the rest. So, Nick, any closing statements for anybody? If anybody has any questions, you want to drop them an email in case they have tech questions or whatever.
Please. So inside the app, there's a support number, so they can text that, and it goes to me. I will respond to you. There's also a support email. You were saying on as many computers, just to clarify for everybody, this is something that it's mediated by your computer, but it's on your phone. So your phone.
Thank you for the correction. Yes.
Yeah, no, it's all good. The button lives on your computer. So the on off button, the shift unshift button to like become distraction free or allow the entertainment systems back on your phone, it happens instantly via the button that lives on your computer. And that separation of the lock and the key, so to speak, I think is one of the primary means that we have a superior product. So, for example, Brick, I don't know if you've seen that. It's this little 3D printed cube, and when you tap your phone to it, it will block or unblock certain apps. But the problem is you can just keep that in your pocket, and then shift, limit or unlimit your phone like that. So with this, it's truly separated. And then there's, like you said, there's schedules that we're going to have there. So if you want to say like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. or on Sundays or whatever it is, whatever schedule suits you, you can impose that schedule and it will happen automatically. We've got other features coming down the line as well. Another thing too, if anybody struggles with pornography, when your phone is in the shifted state, there is no access to porn, period. None whatsoever.
Boom. It's a big one.
So if you were to do like a 30-day thing with it, your phone is no longer a mechanism by which you can access pornography during those 30 days.
So there's no other reason to download it. That's it right there.
Yeah. I really appreciate your time, Mike. Thanks so much for supporting us and representing this hopefully revolutionary product.
It's just the beginning. Like Will Noland always says, we'll let God's providence, do the rest and fill the gap. So, Nick, obviously, you guys are always in my prayers. We'll be praying for Shift and its impact on the world. And of course, everybody that's stuck around thus far, like, comment, subscribe, share, download Shift, share it with somebody that you think needs it, because most people need it. Let's face it. And that's it. God bless you guys. Deus Volt.